Morning, guys. So today we're going to be doing 8-4, which is adding and subtracting rational expressions. Quick little thing before we get started. All adding and subtracting rationals is adding and subtracting fractions. So you guys have done this before. We're just going to extend it with some polynomials in the numerator and the denominator. But remember, when we add fractions, like 1/2 and 1/2, if we add a half and a half, or 1/2 and 1/2, we end up with 2 halves. Okay, which then equals 1 when we simplify. So we're going to go through that same process today. We're going to add the numerators and then we're going to simplify. So let's start that process. In looking at our notes, we have some rules that we're going to go over. So when we're adding and subtracting rational expressions, we must have a common denominator before we can add the numerators. When subtracting, we distribute the negative to the numerator only. Okay, so we're distributing the negative to the numerator only. All answers must be in simplest form. So after adding and subtracting, check to see if you can factor and cancel or divide to 1 common factors. Okay, we're going to move on to example number 1. If you look at example 1, first thing we should notice is that it's addition and that we have a common denominator. So when it's addition and it's a common denominator, all we're doing is combining like terms. So we're going to take 7x and add that to negative 5x. 7x negative 5x is 2x. And then we'll take the negative 12 and the 22. We get plus 10. And then we keep the common denominator, x squared minus x minus 30. Okay, now we're going to do that last step. We have to factor the denominator and the numerator to see if we have a common factor that we can cancel. So the numerator has a greatest common factor. So we're going to factor out that 2. We get 2 times x plus 5. And then in the denominator, 2 numbers that multiply to be negative 30 to add up to be negative 1 are x minus 6 and x plus 5. Okay. Looks like we have a common factor of x plus 5, so I'm just going to cancel those. X plus 5 and x plus 5 divide to 1, and we're left with 2 over x minus 6. We're done. And ready to move on to example number 2. If I'm going too fast, remember that you have the power to push pause and rewind. Okay, this one I'm looking at the signs and I see that we have a subtraction sign. So that means I'm going to distribute it to both the negatives, to the 7x and the negative 12 or the minus 12. The easiest way to distribute is just to change the signs. So I'm going to change that to plus, change the 7x to negative 7x, and the negative 12 or the minus 12 to plus 12. Okay, again we have common denominator, so I don't have to worry about finding a common denominator. And I can just combine like terms. X squared, negative 2x and negative 7x is negative 9x. And then 5 plus 12 is 17. 3x minus 4 is the denominator. Okay, now I'm looking at this. The top is a quadratic. I would be looking for 2 numbers that multiply to be 17 and add up to equal negative 9. Those don't exist. 17 is a prime number, so 17 and 1 are the only factors. So we don't have a common, or we don't have anything we can factor the numerator, and we won't have a common factor we can cancel. So we'll move on to the notes down below. Okay, if we look at the notes down below, we will not have a common denominator down here. So all we're going to do, first step, we need to make sure we factor the denominator. And I'll show you an example down here a little bit why that's important. But we're going to multiply the first fraction by the other denominator's factors that we don't have. That sounds a little confusing, but it will make more sense once we get to some of the examples down below. So we're going to multiply the first fraction, top and bottom, by the denominator of the second fraction, and multiply the second fraction, top and bottom, by the denominator of the first fraction. Okay, then we're going to do exactly what we did above, add the numerators, carry over the denominators, and factor and simplify. Okay, so for example, number 4, we're going to multiply the one on the left times the denominator on the right. So we're going to multiply times 7. We have to multiply top and bottom. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 3x is 21. Oops. 21x. Okay? And the one on the right, we're going to multiply times the 3x, the denominator on the left, times 3x, times 3x. 2x squared times 3x, 6x cubed. 7 times 3x, 21x. We're adding. And again, we're just adding the numerator. So when I add the numerators, I'm just going to write in standard form. There's no like terms to combine, so it's just 6x cubed plus 35 over 21x. And we're done. Moving on to example number 5. On that one, there was nothing we could factor numerator or denominator, so that's why we're done so quickly. Let's look at this one. This time we have binomials in the denominator, so we're going to have to multiply the 7 and the x plus 2 times x minus 5. Remember, the last step is always to factor and cancel. So I'm not even going to bother distributing the denominators because they're already in factored form if I don't distribute. So I'm just going to leave those in factored form, but I am going to need to distribute the numerators so that I can combine like terms and simplify them. So I've multiplied set each up where I'm multiplying by the other's denominator, and I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So x times 7 is 7x. Negative 5 times 7 is minus 35. Not minus 5, minus 35. Over x minus 5, x plus 2. So I'm not going to distribute that. Plus 3 times x, 3x. 3 times 2 is 6. And again, I'm not going to distribute the denominator, x minus 5, x plus 2. Okay, now I can combine like terms in my numerator by adding. So 7x and 3x is 10x. Negative 35 and 6 is minus 29. Then our denominator, I'm just going to leave it in factored form. X minus 5, x plus 2. If I could factor the numerator and cancel, I would. There's no common factors, so I can't factor it, and I'm done. Moving on to example 6. Okay, this time it's subtraction. It's going to be very similar to the one we just did. Multiply by the other denominator, x plus 4, x plus 4, x minus 2, x minus 2. Okay, so we are going to distribute again. This time we have a binomial times a binomial on the left that we are going to distribute. Your Algebra 1 teacher or your Math 8, we're going to refer to it as distribute in this class. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. And we've distributed the first term. Okay, then negative 2 now. Negative 2 times x, negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 5 is plus 10. I'm going to go ahead and simplify that numerator before I write the denominator too. So going to combine those middle terms. I get x squared minus 7x plus 10. And then I'll go ahead and write my denominator. X minus 2, x plus 4. Okay. Distribute the one on the left. 6 times x minus sign 6x. 6 times 4 plus 24 over x minus 2, x plus 4. Okay, now it's subtraction. So just like I did up above, I'm going to change that subtraction to addition, minus, negative, okay? And then combine like terms. X squared comes down. There's no other x squared in the numerators. Okay, negative 7x minus 6x minus 13x. 10 minus 24 is minus 14 over x minus 2. That's a 2. Minus 2, x plus 4. Okay, now I need to factor and cancel if possible. So I can factor the numerator. It would be x minus 14, x plus 1. Two numbers that multiply to be negative 14 that add up to be negative 13. And then that's over x minus 2, x plus 4. And when I do that, I don't have anything that canceled. So really, I would have been okay up here. If you can see there's not going to be any common factors, you're good to stop there. But you should be checking and make sure, because sometimes there are going to be factors we can cancel, and if there were, we would need to. So either one of these problems would be, or either one of those ways we've written that would be correct. Okay, last example. This time we have a quadratic in the denominator that can be factored. So I'm going to go ahead and factor that and see if I don't have an x plus 3, something in common with this factor over here. And when I do that, I actually do. So x squared minus x minus 12, I'm going to rewrite that as 5. Two numbers that multiply be negative 12 that add up to be negative 1, or x minus 4 and x plus 3. Okay. So we can then bring down the other factor, 2 times x plus 3. When I look at this, the only thing the denominator on the right's missing that's on the left is the x minus 4. So that's all I have to multiply by is x minus 4 and x minus 4. And then I'll have common denominators. So I'll distribute that one on the right, 5 over x minus 4, x plus 3, plus 2 times x is 2x, 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, x minus 4, x plus 3. Remember, order doesn't matter when we multiply, so I can write those factors in any order. Okay, now I combine like terms. 2x minus 3 over x minus 4, x plus 3. And I'm done. You guys can go ahead and work on the practice problems. I know my class is not ready for all of them. I have them written up on the board, and Miss Chenault knows, but I think it's 5 and 6 that we're skipping, if I remember correctly. I'll be back on Monday. See you then.